Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Fan Appreciation Month here on Reaction and Review. Tonight, guys, I'm continuing the countdown to episode 300 with the movie that came in third place. With 331 votes, it's a Troma film from 1986. That movie is Combat Shock. Now, before I go any further, I should mention that I myself casted a vote in this, and my vote went to Combat Shock. I really wanted this movie to win. However, though, the good news about it not winning means that I get to watch it sooner. That also means that, well, I've got two more films to watch in this countdown, but I will worry about those when I get to them. Now, I should be talking about this movie. I really don't know a whole lot about it. I do know that, at least when it comes to this version of it on DVD, it comes with the director's cut, which apparently, until this thing came out on DVD, had never been seen in the U.S. It seems that when Troma picked up this film to put it out in theaters, they had to cut about 8 minutes out of it in order for it to get an R rating. Well, now I don't have to worry about what the hell was suitable for an R rating back in '86. I can just see what the hell the director wanted us to see. And that, to me, is always a huge positive. Now, I have no idea if this movie is going to be any good at all. I really don't. The only way I'm going to find out if it is any good is if I shut up and I push play, and I'm going to do that right now. So, without further ado, it's time to kick back, relax, and check out Combat Shock. Wait. So, they need a doctor because the baby's always crying. It has nothing to do with the fact that every time that this baby whoa, okay, so their baby's like a gray alien. I guess that would explain why the cry sounded so fucked up. Okay, yeah, I really don't think that you need a doctor, lady. Your kid's a bit beyond help. God damn it, that baby looks so fucking creepy. I really wish they'd stop giving us close-ups of it. Plus, I really want to know what the fuck is wrong with that kid. I really do want to know, guys, why the hell do they have a baby that looks almost like a fucking gray alien? That's just so fucked up. Okay, guys, you guys can hear the song playing here, right? The song is sort of catchy. I really wish that they would play other songs than this one piece throughout the entire film. I mean, okay, at least this is better than the one song they kept hammering us with in Requiem for a Dream, but this song is still going to get incredibly annoying if they continue to play this and only this over the run of this movie. Did she really just poke that corpse with a fucking stick? No, guys, genuinely, I just saw a character poke a recently deceased character with a goddamn stick. I never thought I'd actually see that in a fucking movie. It was kind of odd. Also, it was a ridiculously long, stick, which seemed kind of funny, but still incredibly fucked up, though. So the loan shark has standards? He isn't going to accept money if it's stolen. Okay, the guy honestly is a fucking scumbag, but at least he has principles somewhere. Granted, seems a little messed up, but at least he has some kind of moral standing. Well, guys, that was Combat Shock, and that ending was really fucking depressing. I'm gonna shut the movie off. Good God, that was bad. I'm not talking bad as in the movie sucked. It's like, I was not expecting that ending. Well, I was kind of expecting a little bit of the ending, but there's a there's a major detail in there that I was not expecting at all, and yeah, I'm probably gonna have nightmares about that. Anyway, I want to start by saying that normally when I talk about normally, guys, whenever I mention blurbs that are on the covers of DVDs and Blu-rays, it's normally there to I normally am there to mock those blurbs because usually the blurbs are full of shit. But the very fact that we have a bunch of blurbs on the back, we have one on the front, they all talk about how this movie is dark, it's gritty, it's bleak, it is depressing. One of them simply says, makes you want to slit your wrists. I'm going to tell you right now, every last one of those is fucking true. Every blurb on here speaks pure, unfiltered truth. And that is probably not a good thing for some. Now, I will say this: is the movie dark and bleak and dark, bleak, and depressing? Yes, it is. However, the big question should be: is the movie any good? And I'm going to tell you that I can answer that with a loud and resounding yes. This movie was amazing. I'm going to start with writing, because I normally start with writing. Before I go into this, I will say that our characters are not exactly the deepest we will ever see. The characters are a little bit shallow, but then again, that's because the only character who really gets any kind of depth to him is Frankie, and Frankie is our main character. The reason why Frankie gets all of the depth is because we basically are living. We are seeing how he lives his life. We are following his day, and we see how he has a wife and he has a kid, and how he has another kid coming, how they are about to be thrown out. They have they have no money, and he has no job. We find out about how he was in Vietnam, and about how he was a PO, W for a while, and then he was in a combat hospital, and then when he got out of the VA hospital, the U.S. government said, nope, fuck you, and they left him out on his own, which has since been changed in the U.S. Nowadays, we actually do treat our vets with some level of care, but still. Really a dark picture is being painted here. He lives in one of the most, run-down, squalid little bits of New York. I believe it actually is supposed to be in Queens. And you just see that every other person in this part of New York is also suffering like him. The only people who aren't are those who have money. And those who have money are either pimps, loan sharks, or a little combination of both. In fact, we have a loan shark who early on... In fact, guys, I'm going to tell you exactly how disgusting the pimp and the loan shark are in this movie. The pimp is pimping out children on top of his regular prostitutes. There are two kids, in fact. One of them looks to be about 8. The other one probably 6. The very concept of pimping out children, especially when they are that young, is nothing shy of disgusting. And it gets worse because our main character Frankie owes the loan shark apparently a lot of money. And if he doesn't pay him off, loan shark informs him that Frankie is just going to have to pay by basically giving him his wife and his 1-year-old child to be given up for prostitution. That's right, guys. The loan shark threatens to pimp out a 1-year-old. A 1-year-old who looks kind of sort of, and I've stated this a few times, looks kind of sort of like a gray alien. And I did not hear any kind of explanation as to why he looks why he looks like that. I do know that we dropped a lot of nasty shit in Vietnam, and this guy was a Vietnam vet. So for all I know, that could just be a reaction to, like, I don't know, like Agent Orange or something. I have no idea. It was really... The movie, guys, is incredibly fucking dark. The writing weaves an incredibly dark dark and depressing it weaves a dark and depressing tapestry, and you just can't stop looking. The whole thing is just like a slow motion car wreck. You know that things are going to get worse, but you can't look away. It's a very powerful movie, and it is going to make you think. We have a character who is a horribly strung out fucking junkie who's just looking for his next fix. Speaking of that, there actually is a whole lot of like drug use going on there's a whole lot of drug use a whole lot of it is implied because apparently a lot of people in this part of New York have gone to drug use in order to numb the pain of living in this squalid little hellhole. For all the people who gave me grief about bitching about Requiem for a Dream being a heavy-handed anti-drug PSA, if you want to see true gritty drug scenes, you have to see the scene where Frankie's buddy, who is just trying to find a fix, is unable to find a needle, so he has to cut open his arm with a rusty piece of wire and rub the heroin into his veins. That is real dark drug use shit. Not the fluffy Hollywood bullshit that we saw in Requiem for a Dream. So yeah, guys, this movie is dark, it's gritty, and it's also incredibly realistic. At least it's far more realistic than other films out there. Anyway, the story here is, I just can't use any other words outside of bleak, dark, and depressing. Guys, I'm going to tell you right now, the bright, shining moment in this film is when he flashes back to being a fucking prisoner in Nam. That should tell you something. That is how dark and bleak this film is that the bright shining moment is when he has a flashback where he feels maggots hatching in underneath his skin. It's really disgusting, really. And mind you, you never see it, you just hear it, and your mind just sort of paints the picture, and it's, oh god, it's just disgusting. Anyway, so writing here is awesome. Acting's a little bit of a mixed bag. Because our main character Frankie is played very, very well. In fact, a whole lot of the cast turns in a really awesome showing. If there was any people I would say turned in a piss poor showing, it would be the woman who played Frankie's wife. She sucked in her role. She really didn't know what the fuck she was doing. I really, really think that they should have gotten someone who actually knows how to act for that. And our two child prostitutes also turned in a rather poor showing, but I am going to let that slide because they are kids, and it still isn't as bad as other performances I've seen from children. So, okay, so, guys, acting is almost totally solid except for two kids and one woman. Everyone else turns in a fairly decent, showing. And that is great, especially considering the fact that this was a low-budget indie flick. They were probably kind of desperate to just get anybody to play these roles, and they got people who turned in really good showings. Again, minus the couple of negative patches there. Special effects. There really isn't much here in terms of special effects, guys. We have a handful of makeup effects, and most of that is things like bruising and puffiness, especially after Frankie gets beaten down, and then basically like one eye just really, really like swells up. Then we also have when the junkie is slicing open his arm, you can see that his veins have just popped up and they've darkened. It looks really disgusting. It looks also really good considering the budget. Then in terms of special effects, we have the puppet that they used for the baby, that really creepy looking baby. The really creepy part is not actually the fact that the kid doesn't have a nose or lips. The problem is that the kid's eyes look really jacked up, and the fact that the puppet has eyes that move that are, or correction, it has eyes that were able to be moved independently of each other. You basically will have like one eye going straight out, and then the other eye will start, like wandering a bit, and it'll start, like popping up some. Looked really messed up. The only other thing is, at the very end, correction, there is also a little bit of, like, squib work here, which is done very, very well. Special effects here are really good, considering the budget used, and also considering the year that the film was made. You really couldn't expect miracles in 1986 unless you had a huge budget. Anyway, so yeah, guys, special effects are done really well. Music. I commented on a piece of music that was just being overused, especially over the first half of the film. Funny thing, as soon as I commented on it, they stopped using that piece of music. It's actually kind of interesting because we hear that song almost exclusively for the first half of the film. They actually would like dip in like a couple other small like musical pieces, but then it would go right back to this same piece of music. And then for the second half, there is very, very little, music. However, everything which is there is not that one song we kept getting hammered with, which is another positive that this thing has against Requiem for a Dream. It knows when to change up the fucking soundtrack a little bit. And the entire soundtrack here is done with synthesizers, and it's done very well. If you are into the sound of 1980s synth music, especially when it's a darker type of synth music. A lot of it is very, very haunting and very, very moody. It works for the film. Music here is awesome. Camera work here is done very, very well. Lighting, lighting actually is a little bit sketchy, but honestly, it still is functional, and that is all that really matters. I can still see what the hell is going on, so I'm going to give lighting a little bit of a pass. So when all is said and done, am I able to recommend Combat Shock? Oh, yes, I can, and I'd like to say that, again, I watched the director's cut, which is 10 minutes longer than any other version of Combat Shock that has been released in the U.S. I don't even know what the hell. Actually, I have a couple of ideas as to what they could have cut, but the movie feels perfect at this runtime. I don't know how or even why you would want to cut anything from this. The movie movie probably was a little bit much for 1986, but if this thing were to be made today, I can almost guarantee it would probably just get a hard R, and we would be set. So yeah, guys, I do highly recommend Combat Shock. However, I would have to say you have to find this version of the DVD, the one that has the uncut version of the film. I cannot promise about the other DVD release of this that was put out by Troma like back in, what was it, like 2002. I am not able to guarantee that because I haven't seen that one. But yeah, guys, if you can find this movie, you have to check it out, as long as you're not worried about being buried in dark, bleak bullshit. So anyway, guys, yeah. Oh yes, and because this is Fan Appreciation Month, Combat Shock came off of the wish list. However, the person who sent it in told me not to give them any kind of a shout out, which is totally fine. I am more than willing to do that. So to the person who sent in Combat Shock, thank you. This movie was amazing, and I would not have had the chance to see it if it wasn't for you. So I would have loved to have given you a shout out, but you don't. But honestly, you don't want one, and I am not going to press the issue. So once more, thank you, and guys, again, you really need to see this movie. It is that awesome. Wow, and seeing as in how I am now sort of in the mood for dark and bleak war, films, I'm going to go rewatch Johnny Got His Gun, because I kind of sort of want to continue with this little bleak and dark war theme thing. So anyway, guys, with that, we come to the close of another reaction and review. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, take care, and I will see you all in the near future. Peace.